Hello, my name is Kalanni Gagne, and I was a person who also was at one point in time previously incarcerated. So technology is very new to me, so please be kind, because I'm not still up on it. But this project for me is very important. It's my flashcards. So I chose the title of this, Giving Others a Voice, because I really feel it's important for incarcerated individuals to be humanized and to be seen as human beings, not for the sum of our mistakes that led us to incarceration. You know, and it's gonna be some of their words and their own stories that you hear, different people that I interviewed. There was about 12 that I interviewed, and the process that I found was some that I had been previously incarcerated with. And then there's some that in the community that through the supports that I received, that I gave information to them, and if they knew somebody that would want to participate, then they certainly could. So that's how that came. And it's giving others a voice in their own words, because it's not just about one person, it's about all. It's about a community of people, you know, and those, for me, those that are the closest to the struggles are the ones that sometimes can have the best solutions. So that's very important for people to understand. And the particulars were to like humanize individuals. We're not just previous inmates, we're not inmates, we are human beings. And I think society at times tends to forget that about people that are incarcerated, you know, and I want to give these people a voice. And when you listen to them in their own words, you listen to the intellect, the intelligence, how articulate, powerful, compassionate, loving human beings that they are. It was hard to kind of shrink things down because everything they said to me was precious. It's their story, and I'm the vessel that's gonna hold it. So I thought, like, to be able to share some of the things with you is important. And some of the pictures you'll see of the individuals are individuals that I interviewed. The ones that are on certain slides are not necessarily a representation of them speaking on that slide. It's just them, you know, having their picture. Some people didn't want their picture, so I respected that and didn't share their picture. This is really about to make the community aware of everything that goes on. You know, the struggles with mental health, the struggles with addictions that those that are incarcerated go through. And, you know, these struggles did not appear out of nowhere. They came from somewhere. They came from childhood traumas or other traumas or things that happened in their life, and that is where this came from. So I will present the first slide. I think I get this right. Okay.
TJ Jiggets.
Thank you. So today I'm here to try to gather information in regards to a project that I'm working on that I feel is very important to try to have more success in people coming back into the community after incarceration. So I'll ask you some questions, and I'll ask your wife some questions as well. Okay, so where and how did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in North New Jersey. Between North New Jersey and Chicago, Illinois, my family was raised. I was raised by my grandmother and grandfather in low income projects, public houses. Together, right in the hood, right smack in the hood.
So how would you describe your childhood and adolescence?
Hey, you know what, to be honest with you, I literally just had a real, I wouldn't describe it as great, but now, as I look at other people's life experiences, I realize that they probably wasn't so great, and they probably really caused a lot of trauma in my life. It made me look at things that really desensitized me at a young age.
Grew up with a single mother, Net father was never around. It was a really rough childhood. Went through a lot of abuse. Became an alcoholic and addict at a really young age. And my life just kind of spiraled out of control from there.
So how would you describe your childhood and your adolescence?
My childhood was really rough. Like I said, I went through, unfortunately, a lot of abuse from my mother and partners that she had. Adolescence was really rough. I always hung out with, kind of like the wrong crowd, older people. Like I said, became an addict and an alcoholic at a really young age. Didn't really care about anything, trying to go anywhere. Luckily, I just barely graduated high school, but my adolescence was really, really rough time.
And you never had a father figure per se growing up then?
There was probably a few years when I was younger that my mom was with my stepfather for probably about 6 or 7 years. And that time of my life wasn't too bad, but that ended really sadly with my mom and him getting into a very bad fight. I remember on Christmas, him pulling a shotgun at her and like screaming at each other. And yeah, so they split up from there, and the abuse continued after that with partners that she had had.
Brittany Neuter.
Okay, so can you tell me a little bit about your childhood?
My childhood. So I actually had a decent childhood for the most part. I lived with both my mom, my dad, and I had one sibling, my sister Jessica. Being younger, I remember my parents being, like a regular family. We'd go out to dinner, a movie, but then as I got older, I started to see the discrepancies that my mom kind of hid us from, me and my sister, my parents fighting, my dad not coming home after work. He used to drink a lot. They're arguing about money a lot, and I think that's where my mom's trying to hide it from us. And then I used to see the physical altercations, and then the separating, like we moved out back and forth a few times, and then the divorce, and then the affairs, and then there was a finalized divorce, and that's kind of where the end of my childhood was, and I kind of grew up really fast.
Jeanette Elliott. So I had a really great family home. Growing up, obviously, I grew up on a farm and I was an only child, so I had a lot of work, and I hated that as a kid. Now, looking back, I'm wildly proud of the fact that I was taught how to take care of myself, how to cook, how to, survive in a forest, how to work on a house, So, while my home life with my parents was great, I was horrifically bullied in school. I didn't have a single friend until I was 13. It was torture. So I've always kind of had weird social issues because of that. But having, my parents really changed that. So my parents are now divorced. My dad's now an alcoholic, and my mom is worse. So it's they were great and I wasn't, and now that I'm great, they're not.
My name is Justice Donald.
Where are we?
We're in Johnson, Vermont.
So where and how did you grow up?
I grew up along most of central Vermont. I was born into Williamstown, Vermont, and then we moved to Brookfield for a little while, and then we went out to Middlesex to live with my stepfather, and then moved back to Barrie. So I've been all around central Vermont.
How would you describe your childhood and adolescence?
I had a pretty good childhood. My biological father was very abusive, so I had weekend visitations with him up until I was 8 years old, I want to say, and then it got really bad one time, and my mom said, yeah. So I stopped going, but other than that, I had a pretty good childhood.
So This is like the paper that you have shows you the ACE questions. 1, emotional abuse, being sworn at, insulted, put down, humiliated, or having someone threaten you. Physical abuse, being pushed, grabbed, slapped, thrown something at, or hit hard enough to leave marks or injuries. Sexual abuse, being touched, fondled, or subjected to sexual acts by someone at least 5 years older. Emotional neglect, feeling that no one in your family loved you, thought you were special, or that the family did not support each other. Physical neglect, feeling that you did not have enough to eat, had to wear dirty clothes, or had no one to protect or take care of you. Parental separation / divorce, losing a parent due to divorce, abandonment, death, or other separation. Domestic violence, witnessing a mother or other adult in the home being pushed, slapped, hit, or threatened by someone. Substance abuse in the household, living with somebody who was a problem drinker, an alcoholic, used street drugs, prescription drugs, or was a drug addict. Mental illness in the household, living with somebody who was depressed, mentally ill, or attempted suicide. Incarcerated household member, living with someone who served time in jail or prison. And this is, for incarcerated individuals, as you see, you know, most start at about a 4 and go up to as high as a 7 out of the 10 that you see here, and how the trauma that they had as children. So if you look through them, you know, you will see like how that affects people who are incarcerated and where it came from. And the reason that I asked these 2 questions first was to give an understanding into someone's childhood and the traumas that give us compassion and insight by hearing these stories from these people and what they went through, and to how this shapes you emotionally and mentally, and how it shapes you to make decisions, and how it shapes you to have coping skills or their lack of coping skills, and therefore which can lead to substance abuse, because that is the only coping mechanism that most people who are incarcerated, have been previously incarcerated, know. That is their only coping mechanism to get through life. Was there anything like kind of problems at home in regards to violence or?
Yeah, my dad was pretty aggressive. Like there was a lot of domestic abuse and a lot of yelling. We weren't like an affectionate family. So it was anger was expressed, and then we were happy. I don't want to say that we never, you know, but it was just very like there wasn't really a lot of security. We moved around a lot. And like when I said, when we came here, we still moved from Newport to Orleans to back to Newport Center to, you know, so it was never like big, like, you never really knew where home was.
You don't have to answer. How was your mother? Just physically abusive, verbally abusive?
My mother is both. It was verbally and physically. Yeah, she suffered from a lot of mental health issues, and unfortunately took it out on her kids.
My dad used to kind of, he used to be like really physical with me, like punishing wise would be, and very verbal and emotional, and it was very like, you're stupid, you're no good, you're fat, you're a waste of space, you like tell me and my sister, you know, I didn't want you, your mother wanted you, you know, things like that.
Was there any childhood trauma or anything that led to that?
So, no, I mean, so I was physically abused by my mom. Like she would try to, you know, punish me, and she would hit me with a belt buckle, and that actually got me put in SRS custody because, you know, somehow they found out that my mom was whooping my ass with a belt, and they thought that she was abusing me, even though I have an older brother and a younger brother. and nothing happened to them. That she was allowed to stay there, and they got their ass kicked just as much as I got mine. Obviously, my little brother's a little younger, but that's the only way she really knew how to supervise me. So that's what I did. I did whatever, and then I got physically abused, which started me in foster care, and the foster care is, I feel like, where a lot of the problems came.
Were there any major traumas as a child other than
Yes,
your dad?
absolutely, yes. When I was with my dad, somebody that he considered his quote-unquote brother molested me until the age of 14, on top of raping me a few different nights. And that's kind of where all the trauma comes from, is from my dad, who's physically abusive, emotionally abusive. He allowed anything and everything to happen in his house. So there's a lot of trauma based off of my biological father.
If you don't choose to answer, you don't. Was there like physical abuse growing up?
Physical abuse is the norm. Mental abuse.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not so much from the house, but just from the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you just born to be. You got to become something you weren't supposed to be. I mean, but you don't realize that again till you get out of it, and then you see other people's life.
Yeah.
And you see like, oh wait, everybody didn't grow up knocking people off the front. That's
So if you can, take like a minute and turn to the person next to you. And what did you experience when you listened to the first two questions and the responses from these people? And I'll raise my hand when I'm ready to start again.
Was there any...
A lot of these people, so like they said it like, yeah, of course. It came out like obviously what's happening. In the interviews, like it was.
It felt like that era of normalcy to say
Yeah, like in their life. People were asked it, yeah. But it's like unfair. And then people get trapped. Well, people get trapped in the system.
Okay, so if you look at the statistics, and this is just from one correctional facility in the state of Vermont, okay, and it's southern state, and if you look at the numbers, that gives you an idea of what incarcerated individuals deal with coming in to the system. So this is mental health and medical assisted treatment program that some states use. The medical assisted program is some of the treatment that they use to help incarcerated individuals coming in off the street to hopefully not go through withdrawal systems and to use that to hopefully help get them over their addictions. It is not a neither, it is an either or, it is to be worked together. You can't really become mentally okay if you're physically going through these cravings and you're feeling sick and you're not able to think straight, or you're going through all kinds of things while you're going through withdrawal. So you can't even begin to focus on your mental health. So using these together is a good form of a treatment to help somebody to get beyond the cravings, so then you can start to work on a lot of the problems where it started, which is the mental health, as you heard, through childhood trauma and things that happened while they grew up and how that shaped them. So it needs to work together. It needs to be a better system of working these things together in hopes that somebody can eventually begin to come off of these drugs that they use to assist, and then work on the mental health piece, because it's hard to focus when you can't stop thinking about the physical addiction.
Question, is the MAT the withdrawal?
Yeah, it's medical assisted treatment. That's called the MAT. I think there's another name they use for it now, but I'm not quite sure. But I think
It's MOUD.
MOUD, right?
MOUD.
MOUD, okay, yeah. So, but that's what they use in the Department of Corrections in the state of Vermont.
Do you feel like they should put as much emphasis and money on mental health as they try to do with the drug program they call MAP?
Yes, I do.
Can you explain why you feel that?
Because I heard the time I was in there for 14 months, I very seldom ever talked to a mental health worker. And I was very stressed being bullied the whole time I was in there, you know?
No, drugs are not the answer. That's not the answer. Like, you take people who are, addicted to this heroin stuff that they have now, you put them in jail, and then you just chuck a controlled narcotic at them with no treatment, no plans to get that drug, which is addictive, when they get out. So they get out of jail, and then what, they detox because you didn't help, and then they have to use again. Like, nah. I don't think drugs are the answer. I don't think drugs have ever been the answer.
I think that they should focus on mental health first. And once the mental health is stabilized, going into the substance abuse and why. Because we all use for a reason other than just for ourselves. I use to mask my feelings on a lot of things that happen. That's what 99.9% of us do when we're addicts. I think being able to work on those traumas and able to just educate us on ways to deal with those and to let them out is huge. Mental health is my number one. If you can get somebody mentally stable, they'll be able to be successful 10 times, 100 times more than with nothing.
So do you feel DOC should be putting as much into our mental health care for incarcerated individuals as they do the MAP program?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. They need, honestly, that's a huge part of what these women need in there, because a lot of us have PTSD. A lot of us have, underlying mental health issues that are just undiagnosed. That are not even undiagnosed, but they're untreated. We don't have somebody that's there that specializes in saying, like, okay, well, let's do, even packets on PTSD or something, or start some group that just helps with our mental health. And it's something that's not talked about enough. And yeah, so we really, we need that.
Fuck yeah, it should be more. Like Matt Mills shouldn't even be a mainstream thing. I don't know what that is. That's not a bit that's pacified.
No, they put way more effort into the Mount program. I feel like, honestly, they don't really put any effort into mental health treatment there.
So they should focus more on mental health.
Yeah, I really think they should. Because, of course, too, with addiction, the treatment programs are helpful, but obviously a lot of the root of people's addictions are mental health issues. So if they really get down to the root of it and focus more on mental health, I think it would make a huge difference.
So did they offer really any mental health services there?
No. They gave me a packet and said, here you go, and then they would call me down, but they'd call me down when I'd be in the kitchen, and then they wouldn't call me down for another 8 weeks. And if they would call me down. and they would just stare at me.
Professional avoidance, to at least say they try.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it would be an awkward. Awkward interaction. It wouldn't even be like they would ask me questions. They would just expect me to talk. Like I would know what to say. Like, are you even interested? Do you even want me to be here? It seems like you don't want me to be here. And it would be a quick interaction. It wouldn't even be a meaningful interaction.
So if you listen to them, I completely understand the aspect of the medical assisted treatment. But like I said, there's this lack and disconnect of using them together. It shouldn't just be either or, it should be together. And these are people who use for many, many years. You're hearing in their own words, like mental health is needed. You need to get to the root of the problem. You know, people don't wake up and say, I just want to be a heroin addict today. I want to be an alcoholic. I want to be a crackhead. I want to use whatever I can use to escape this reality that I lived in. It came from a mental health experience, and a lot of it stems from childhood trauma and untreated mental health as a child. That's why I feel it's really important to bring those two together. And as you look at the statistics right now in the state of Vermont of the incarcerated individuals as of 2024. That's 7 months ago, 8 months ago, whatever. The number of people that are on that. So take a minute and turn to the person next to you again and say one thing that you noticed about the statistics and what you heard in their own words.
I work downtown, so I kind of stay here every day. That was the first time that I ever witnessed it was when I was in San Francisco. I was a kid, and I seen that.
Yeah, it took a while. Well, I mean, the West there's one.
That makes sense to me. 35% just it's not surprising, but it is a jarring statistic.
The first slide and to hear that and to reckon with that mental health treatment is lacking. The disconnection there is so unsettling.
Okay, thank you. So this next one is like mentorship, and should formerly incarcerated individuals be vetted properly so they are allowed to come back into the prison to offer support to current inmates? Because you utilize one's lived experience, it gives that person empathy. They see like the things that these other people coming back in have achieved, and it gives them hope that they also can have a successful reintegration back into the community, that they too can be successful. They can find gainful employment. They can find housing. They can find other means as opposed to just the drugs that they were always addicted to. So when you see these people that you know from jail coming back in to help you, there's more of a connect that way, because You know they understand what it's like to be incarcerated. You know they understand what it was like to be addicted. They know that you have a lot of the same experiences growing up that they had. So I feel it's powerful, and I really would love to see DOC be able to do something like this. I would love to go back in and be like a peer support for the women that are incarcerated, because I feel it's an important connection to have, and they can see, those that might know me or not know me, but you can see that I overcame this. You can too. I'm here for you. I'll try to help you. Whatever you need from me, I will be there to support you. I will try to find housing. I will be an advocate for you, because some incarcerated individuals do not have any family. They have nobody that will take care of them. So how can you try to find like a job, or how can you try to find an apartment? How can you try to find a good community to try to come back into? Like, so that's what peer support can offer, and therefore that will make for a much higher rate of individuals having a successful reintegration into society.
I have a question for him. When you say vetting former inmates, is that like inmates that have been there before?
Yeah, so somebody who has been incarcerated, that they meet all the criteria that the DOC is happy with, that they are allowed and trusted to come back in to work as a peer support for individuals that are incarcerated still.
I appreciate that, because I wasn't sure.
That's okay. Thank you very much for your question.
Is that happening?
No, that's something. It's another thing. Go ahead.
Have you asked DOC, and if you have, what did they say?
So I did give testimony in front of the House Committee on Corrections and Institutions, and I did bring that up in my testimony, that that is something that I would like to see, that I would love to come back in, you know, because it's such a meaning, self-worth to know that you've helped another human being, that you've connected with another person, given them hope, given them something to look forward to, that it's not impossible. Those who know me and know my story, it would be so beneficial for them. And for others who come out and their stories, because you know these people, you know what they've lived through, you know how they were. So to see them come back successful, that's just paying it forward to me.
Absolutely. I have a daughter who has a mental illness, and Nami in Vermont has people who have been mentally ill, who have gone through the process, be able to give presentations to other people who are mentally ill, who are in the same, who, you know,
You're in the same predicament.
and then, right, and be able to learn from them. So I think that should be a thing. For
Thank you.
because
Thank you, I appreciate that. One last question.
Yes, mental illness is a major issue, and not just in Vermont, but and I used to work on the Church Street Marketplace 25, 30 years ago, and I did see some examples of people who had mental challenges. But I think it's gotten worse since then. I don't know if you agree with that, you probably do, but it just seems that, and plus the homelessness and the drug use are also rampant in Vermont, especially like the Chittenden County area. And it just, I agree with well, my question is, are they improving how they treat their inmates in prison or jail? Is that going to change for the better?
I mean, I really can't answer to something that I really don't have in-depth knowledge about, other than that I know that considering where corrections used to be and where they are today, there is huge improvements that they've come up with, you know, in regard like medical assisted treatment. That's to help people so they're not going through withdrawal when they come into jail. So yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
I feel like people like you or me or women that are successful in their reintegration into society would be very helpful to DOC to let us come back in to work with inmates.
Oh, absolutely. You're damn right. And I said this. I've said this. So I was an expert witness, a person with lived experience, a reentry simulation. Vermont just ran the first reentry simulation. We did it in Montpelier a couple months ago. And I had the opportunity to speak. And like I told, listen, if we're gonna build change, we need to build a table.
Absolutely. I've actually been thinking about this for a while, that I feel that they should really take some of us women to have successful stories of reintegrating, and that we have done a good chunk of our lives in there. And so I feel like us women that have actually been through it should be able to go in there and talk to these women and show them that, life is possible to do, if you have a solid concrete plan and you follow through with it. Because that's one thing that I never had in there, was a solid concrete plan. So I kept getting out and doing the same thing until I finally just got so sick of it. And I was, I said, I need a change. There's no way about it. I needed something to change in my life. So I had to move an hour away from my hometown. I have to be an hour away from my mom and my son, but I'm here because they saved my life, and I'm here today for that reason. So. Yeah, oh, absolutely. It would mean a lot more, I feel like, to these women to see that it is possible to be successful once you leave, and not to just see, oh, they read a book, or oh, they went to school and they have a degree, so they know what they're talking about. No, to see a real life success story of women that have been in there, or maybe even if they know us or had spent time with us, it means a lot more to see that it is possible, it is real, and it means something to see that. And it's true. It's not just a facade or a lifestyle. It is a type of lifestyle, but it's a lifestyle that we chose to make after living that lifestyle that they are living at that moment in time.
Do you feel that would be beneficial to go back into the jail
to talk? Okay. Yeah, I do. I think they should have a program where you can go in and say, when I got out, I had nothing, what I had to go through, the sources that they have, what they're for, if they're not going to hire somebody, then let us go back in and talk to them. As long as I haven't been in any trouble since I've been out whatsoever, and I think I should be allowed to do that.
Absolutely. If that was an option, I think it would be beneficial for both parties. Us if we could go in there and just show that it's possible and that this can happen, that's just a little bit of motivation to them, but it's also feel good on our part too, to be able to share what we have. When you're in there, they don't really give you a sense of it being okay and gonna be changing. But if they're able to see somebody like us go in there and show them that it's possible, I think it would be I think it's huge. I think we should absolutely be able to do that.
So like you heard in previously incarcerated individuals that they agree as well that can be another tool that the Department of Corrections can use to help for successful reintegration back into society, to see real life human beings who have been incarcerated to come out and then come back in to offer that peer support. So this is like programs and resources. Programs are important inside because, you need education, you need the employment, you need mental health, vocational programs like plumbing, electrical, carpentry, a skill that somebody can come out with and have proper gainful employment, because a lot of incarcerated individuals never really have been employed. gainfully employed. So if they don't have the tools, how are they going to come back out and be successful? So part of that is being able to have these programs and these resources for a successful reintegration. You need stable housing. You can't worry about anything else if you're homeless after coming out of jail for a year or 2 or 5 or 10 or 15. How do you have stabilization in your life if you don't know where you're going to sleep that night? If you don't know how you're going to be able to find gainful employment, because gainful employment can be complicated when you have been convicted of a felony and trying to get that chance to start over. And then if you didn't have the programs and the resources of the mental health and the substance abuse piece in jail, how is that going to change you when you come out with the same mentality that you went in as? So programs and resources like this are very important.
What programs would you like to see at the Regional Correctional Center?
I think one of the biggest things they need is vocational training. I think that would be a big help, because a lot of girls, they want to get jobs in, like the trades, but they don't know how to do it and they don't know where to start. So if they came in and did electrical courses, maybe even if they did carpentry, could bring back some of the cooking classes, because they've done that before and girls really like that.
Would you like to see some vocational programs?
Yes, yeah. I don't know, the men, they have in Newport, they have all these different things. I know that they used to have the printing press. I don't know if they still do in St. Albans or something, and even the women, when they first were doing incarceration, at Dale and St. Albans, they had the module homes, and I just think that would be smarter, or even computer classes, or.
So you could learn a trade.
Right, yeah.
Because a lot of women go into.
Right, even if it was cosmetology, I did, I did participate in other programming, I guess, because I did the Vermont flagger thing, so I have my flagging license, Saturday on the car, but I do have that, and, I did some of the nutrition stuff, but yeah, it would be nice to see a good culinary program, or cosmetology, or something that people, a forgiving type of feel too.
So what kind of programs do you think would be good to offer? What should they be focusing on offering that is going to be productive when we get out of incarceration? To help us maybe learn the skill to work?
Anything with, jobs, and not even if you don't want to do a full job training program, give people a class that tells them how to circumnavigate all the resources that are available, because you have to fight to get them, teaching people things, having classes where you can get a college degree. They don't have that right now. They have CCB classes that they won't let people enroll in a degree program. Mental health is paramount. People almost always have co-occurring disorders with mental health and substance abuse. And you need to treat that. You need to help people be okay with themselves if you want them to be okay for a community.
That's true. What do you feel they?
I think they need to educate them. They need to give them certificates. Like I said earlier, OSHA. Welding. There's a bunch of stuff where you can be certified. Mm-hmm. So when you get out, I'm in the same footing as somebody else starting the job. We don't have any experience, but I'm all certified in certifications. And when I go to the boss, I can say, hey, I have this certification. And that's going to save the boss, $1,500 to get me certified, or I have a forklift license, or I have mechanic skills or stuff like that. Stuff that I hear that they used to do a long time ago, they used to have a mechanic shop in Newport.
So you hear, incarcerated individuals are asking for this. This is what they know that they need to be successful coming back out. So they really don't have a lot of programs in the Department of Corrections. I understand funding and things like that are probably something beyond my scope of dealing with. But if you want people to stop coming in to jail, you need to give them something to come out with. And if they don't have anything, like a job training, or you heard the gentleman, $1,500 to get a forklift license. That saves the boss $1,500 to be able to like hire the guy, because maybe the other guy that was interviewed doesn't have that. So that gives that person, though he was incarcerated previously, kind of like a leg up to get the job. And that's why it's really important. And like I said, that's beyond my scope how that works. I'm just saying there really needs to be more programs for people to have success.
I got a question.
Sure.
Are there programs, not how to get a job, but keep a darn job? Because I mean, I've loved to know some people who they never went to school. They always broke the rules, and then they got in trouble. And then you get out, and then you get a job, but you got to be there at 9 o'clock 5 days a week. So is there prep for that kind of head twist?
No, there's not really something that is offered to like get people there, you know, like they did facility jobs that people can get, but it's not really regulated in the sense of, oh, you missed 3 days. Okay, well, you were sick and that's fine. So to get people into that structured routine of this is what you have to do, this is what's expected of you when you get that job. Therefore, you know, you're teaching them responsibility that they might not have had, which brings it all the way back to childhood trauma and their coping skills and not really having any real training or really parenting skills that happen for them. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I put that there because a couple people actually refer to that in the next slide. And if you look at it, you know, the basic needs, if you don't have air or water, you really can't even begin to worry about your safety needs, you know, because that's another basic need. So how can you get there if you're not able to find food? And then if you don't have shelter and you are living on the street and homeless, how are you really safe? So you can't really start to begin social needs that will really help you to be successful if you can't feel safe, you know, and you're trying to find a place to feel safe. So it kind of like needs to go into the way it is. And when you get to the self-actualization, and then you can actually begin to move beyond to like self-transcendence, which is where you want to begin to help others. You want to be able to be a peer support or to help others be successful.
So as a trans woman, do you feel there was enough mental health support and medical support there to really truly understand what trans women go through, or trans people in general go through, as opposed to what cisgender women go through?
Not at all. I feel like the medical staff there, it was, here's your stuff, now get out. Like, it wasn't, we really care about what you're going through, we don't care about you really getting your help. I waited a long time to get electrolysis, finally went through a couple procedures, and then it just shut off. And they kept promising me I'd still go before I got out. It didn't happen. And then mental health wise, I don't feel that they're educated for that kind of stuff. It's oh, do you feel suicidal? Oh, maybe we should get you on some medication. You know, it's not conducive.
Did you feel that you deserved a successful reintegration into the community?
Did I deserve it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I did. Like I said, I feel like that, you know, kind of like in my case, unfortunately, I got some of the most time out of a lot of people in the case, and I didn't feel necessarily that the role that I played, that I deserved that. So, and I just being as much time as I had, and, you know, going in and changing basically who I was completely and coming out a better person, I feel like I definitely deserve a successful reentry.
In order to feel security or safety, you need to be fed, you need to have water, you need to be warm, and you need to be well rested, obviously, in order to feel any of those things. In order to feel safety, you're gonna have to feel all those things, right? And in order to have intimate relationship to friends, you're gonna have to have a sense of security or some kind of safety, and then you can embrace friendships.
It's like living on the street and not get
Right, never. Esteem needs, prestige, feeling of accomplishment. Of course, right? Then you have, and that goes along with security and safety, and then you can have those esteem needs. I can't say that. Okay. Achieving one's full potential, including creative activities. Yeah, self-fulfillment needs. Yeah.
Are you familiar with that
Yeah.
hierarchy? So do you feel you can get to any level by studying, or you have to?
No, you have to go through each one. Like, if you don't have your core needs met, you can't foster mind because all your time is spent working on, your next meal or your housing. Like, if you know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna go to college when you're living in a park. And it's hard because, like, the housing situation in Vermont is so awful, and like getting housing through these programs, like the wait lists are so long. You want people to be better, but you don't give them the tools to do so. Like, once I had an apartment and a job, then I could move on to doing things that I like making dinners for the Cot Stay shelter, cooking and stuff like that. But I can't cook for someone else if I can't cook for myself.
What kind of things do you wish you were learning when you were inside during your incarceration?
I wish I'd been learning ways to not really come back, because they have these different programs and stuff that are out in the community, but you really don't know about them when you're in there, and there's no one to come in and kind of say, okay, hey, we have this, found this organization, or you can get this voucher or that. I just need more. You need more guidance, I think, because I know not to, don't break the law. I get that, but I need other avenues. Like, what can I do to be more proactive and not going back to jail?
Do you feel you deserve a successful reintegration into society?
I believe that success thinks I need it. Absolutely. But yes, let me say, I think that society as a whole, everyone needs to really understand that it's everyone's job to make sure that when people come home, that they become successful. If not, they are going to hurt people in society, which is why we put them away. And that means that what you didn't work. So if you got people that keep going back to jail for doing the same shit, that means you're not doing nothing that works. Change it. You get what I'm saying? So I think that yes, I think society, I think I deserve to be successful for society. Because if not, then it's going to be my goal to destroy society. And that's what we don't want, right? We don't want people to feel like that.
Do you think there's things that you wish you had in your release plan that would have really helped you?
Yeah, I wish I still had. I mean, I can go to Mercy Connections. I can see my mentors, or if I, actually need somebody, my pastor. If I really need somebody to talk to, or I'm having problems, I can just call them. I do know that. But it would have been nice to have everything set up for when I got out, instead of just saying, well, where am I going to sleep tonight? What am I going to do until I can find a place? You know, I didn't know anything like that. And not been for my mentor and Mercy Connections, I wouldn't know what to do now.
Yeah.
But they helped me, and I'm in this department, which I like. It's a nice little apartment. And I'm making it.
So what kind of programs would you have liked to see while you were incarcerated that would have been beneficial to you?
I think education on substance abuse and ways to cope with that is huge. Seeing a quote-unquote drug abuse counselor, substance abuse counselor once in 6 months doesn't do anything. I think letting an addict understand what addiction really is and how the severity of it can be is huge. I think an education on that, not just for inmates, but staff, like the coworkers as well, because they have no humility with things and just see a junkie, and when in reality we're humans.
I think a positive belongingness, like we need to feel that we all have a place in this world, no matter who we are, where we are, what we've done in the past. We all need to have a place in this world, and you know, if we all choose to turn our lives around and make something of ourselves, then we all deserve to have a great life. So.
So, I mean, you hear a lot of how important community is when you're coming back out. You know, community gives somebody coming out that sense of belongingness, acceptance, that you feel like you're being included, that you're valued, and that you're connected, that you can help build a sense of pride within yourself if you have that. And it gives you a purpose, and it can allow you to feel safe, and it can allow you to be able to start to work in society and a community, and having that and how important it is to one's success. And this is really kind of the only thing I felt I'd include of myself in this.
What are you most proud of?
Still way responsible.
For me, the most
I don't know how.
proud of myself that I am is,
Sure.
even though these horrendous things were happening.
Yeah, we want to be able to hear this. Because it just...
You can go escape and go all the way back. Yeah, I don't know.
Ooh. I got you. Okay,
Go all
we'll
the way
try
back.
that.
Yeah. Try that.
I know the first question is a little quiet, but the question is, what are you most proud of?
Yeah, the question is, what are you most proud of? And that's not a question I thought to ask anybody that I interviewed. And it certainly was not a question that I was expecting to be asked. That's why it's, in that nanosecond of time, it was so powerful to me.
What are you most proud of?
I think, for me, the most proud of myself that I am is, even though these horrendous things were happening to me in Mississippi, it started 3 days after my sister died. I was drug-free. Didn't know how I was gonna make it, but I did. And to realize when I got out that people saw me and they told me, like, I'm their blessing, that just blew me away. I'm so proud that I finally see that in myself, that I am worthy of something. I am worthy to be treated good, to be loved, to be seen, and to be heard. You don't have to accept Kalanni for being a trans woman. You don't have to understand it. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. That's it. End of story. And that's the most proud that I am, that I achieved all this through the most harshest of circumstances, that I continued to persevere and not give up.
And I reached out for help when I realized I couldn't do it anymore. That's what I'm most proud of. And doing something like this, being there for other people, it really gives me a lot of self-worth to be there for somebody and let them know that I care about them and I want them to have a voice.
What are you most proud of?
We don't need that again. That's enough. Once is enough. Trying
Really
to,
proud.
yeah, I'm trying. I don't know how to get to this.
Escape button.
Okay, that didn't work.
Escape button.
Oh, thank you. Okay. There's one more after that. Where is it? It's not on. Okay. No, I don't want that.
Hit the right arrow.
I don't know how to do it.
You got it.
I need help, please. I want to get to this slide.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, and then a full screen slide. Okay. Okay. So a sense of community, that is important. And this poem kind of says that. A stranger's kindness. In the midst of a bustling street where hurried souls would seldom meet, your smile broke through a radiant sun, a simple kindness softly spun. Amid the clamor of the crowd, your warmth cut through the cold, loud shroud, a beacon in a sea of faceless pace, a moment's grace in the human race. You didn't know the weight I bore, the battles fought, the inner war, yet with a smile, a gesture small, you lifted me from despairing fall. Your laugh, a melody so sweet, echoed in alleys, danced on concrete, a sound so pure, so unexpectedly, crafted a niche of belonging just for me. With you, the world seemed less severe. Your compassion drew me near, a stranger's gift profoundly rare, the heartfelt warmth of genuine care. In a realm where apathy often reigned, your kindness washed away the strains, showed me hope, bright and true, the benevolence lives and thrives anew. So thank you, stranger, for that day, for your infectious smile and your sweet dismay. In your light, I found a spark, a path back from the shadows dark. Your spirit is a testament to the good, reminds us all as humanity should. In each of us, kindness resides, a power immense with gentle tides. Let us all be strangers, yet friends at heart, sharing smiles, a universal art. For in your kindness, I found a key, a brighter world as it could be. And bringing this person that was previously incarcerated into the community doesn't necessarily mean anything but that right there. A simple smile when you see somebody having a bad day. Anybody that's having a bad day, a simple "how are you?" or a smile can change your whole day, you know, and I think that's important. And this is a song written and performed by my friend, Daniel Young. And it kind of ties everything together. So if you choose to, you can close your eyes and really listen to the words and picture what the words are saying.
Let the past go, as if it's made from the melting snow, lost in the afterglow, as true as you'll ever know. If it pulls you too far down, further closer to the edge, the overwhelming waves smash you deep into the ground, and then I'll fly away, just like the fleeting time of day. I'm sweeter just like the words you never say. You fall in for so long, such a thorn in my side. The kindest bitch I've ever met finally cast you aside. Getting high on life, getting by on life. I'm just glad to be high on life, pushing the past away, enjoying every single day. The line between the trees and sky, the little things you say. I've walked through storms alone, shook me deep down to the bone. But every scar I've ever earned showed me just how much I've grown. The silence taught me peace, the struggle gave me release. Now, even in the dark, I find my own heartbeat. Appreciate the little things, whatever each day brings. The way the sun rises, the little bird as it sings. It's my life to live, I give everything to you. And it's my love to give, and there's so much left to do. I'm getting high on life, I'm getting by on life. I'm just glad to be high on life. I'm getting high on life, I'm getting by on life. I'm just glad to be high on life with me.
And I think that song really says it all to anybody, especially incarcerated individuals. That is like the consensus. Like a lot of people who are incarcerated and have been addicted and the traumas they've gone through, like you put so much into getting high. Don't you owe it to yourself to put that much into loving yourself, to healing yourself, to getting better so you can help others? You know, the kindest bitch I've ever met, you know, that's a reference to marijuana, Mary Jane, as when I grew up in that generation. But that can be any thorn in your side. That could be any bitch, you know, whatever your addiction is. It could be anything. And when you release it, how amazing it finally feels, where you're finally able to just look at the simple things in life and truly begin to enjoy them. And it does take a community. You know, on my experience, there's two things that I needed, that I know that had to be for me to have that successful reintegration. I needed to find my Jewish family. I needed that. That was the number one thing in my life, you know, and I did. I needed to find a therapist because I needed to begin to finally heal, because I finally understood what a lot of the problems in addiction were for me. And, you know, the community that I found are some of the most amazing, acceptant, beautiful people that I came in and was as transparent as I could be, because that's what I want to be. And to have them love me and care about me and to accept me, and to have them say that I was their blessing was so powerful. And that's what we want. We want a community. We need a community to help us. It's not done by ourselves. You know, Mercy Connections, Vermont Works for Women, Pathways, Heather, Samantha, Matt, Kate, Mary and Mary, Joe, Matt, and other people, Rhea, all these people who have been such an integral part of my life, and they're working to help other people to have the same thing. These are the programs and resources that I'm talking about that we need, because whether people choose to like it or not, unless someone has a life sentence, they're coming back into society. They're coming back to the community. And as you heard one person say, don't you want them to come back feeling like they've been able to be helped and to have a change? Or you do get that sense of, then I'll just destroy society. And that's not what we want. And I thank every one of you for coming today and to be a part of this presentation. And I really hope that the people that I interviewed, I did justice for them and gave them their voice. Thank you very much. If anyone has questions, you can certainly ask questions.
I'm just curious to know, when an incarcerated person is released here in Vermont, what are they given to help them on that first day to reintegrate?
Well, there's two types of sentences in Vermont. You either have like the normal sentence where you're either released on FSU, which is, I think, some kind of like supervised, or you have parole, or then there's what they call a split to serve, where you have a min-max, so you max out. And if you max out on a min-max, there's nothing for you. If it's a Saturday, you're being put out, there's no place, you don't have to have a residence. But if it's parole, then they work with you so you at least have a residence to go to.
So there's no money, nothing that's given to you in order to find an apartment or anything like that?
No, if you didn't save or if you do not have family members, that is something that you don't get. Sometimes they generally will give, a cell phone to some people, or they will give what they call gate money, a certain amount, of gate money that they can leave with. But, for a person who's done, say, 16 years, what does $350 do? And you should have been saving the whole time. But sometimes to take care of yourself and to have certain needs met while you are there. So there really isn't anything to help people when they come out other than family and programs and resources to help you find those things. And that's what organizations like Burlington Housing Authority is about. That is what programs like Pathways is about. That's what some of these programs are, is to help people coming out. But that doesn't necessarily solve everyone's problem, because they can only help so many.
So at least when a person is released, are they at least given information on how to contact organizations?
Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. Like I know for like Mercy Connections, like Kelly or Joe or those others that like have mentors that come in, they will find those resources. They will put them. I had a mentor and she had like a little booklet for me when I got out, where to go, where to find food, where to find shelter, where to find clothing, where to find anything that you might need, because some people, like a min-max, you come out to homelessness.
I was lucky enough to work at Luther Luckett, medium security prison in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm an actor. And we had a big Shakespeare program there, started by Kurt Tofflin. It's actually on Netflix. It's called Shakespeare Behind Bars. They had a 0% recidivism rate with the prisoners who had gone through the Shakespeare program. And every year they rehearsed, they learned these shows. And a lot of the inmates took on roles that helped them face the crimes that they were incarcerated for. Such as Othello, the black man who had killed his white wife. And the movie's incredible to see how they documented how they went through this program. It was very healing, and it really drew a lot of interest and support. So I know I'm a Vermonter. I'd love to help build a program like that here.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's
You're
great
welcome.
insight to have.
Yeah.
Have you run the numbers? Have you done budgets for your programs? And have you prioritized which things you would do first, which would have the most impact? You must have a list of them. It felt like there was 3, 4, 5 specific programs that you would outline and assign budgets to.
I mean, I think it would be nice for the programs for Department of Corrections. This isn't really my forte. It's insight into somebody who was previously incarcerated and what is needed. And the biggest thing is that gainful employment piece, to teach somebody how to take care of themselves. And then, as David had said, but yet to be able to show up every day for that job consistently. So programs like that are very important. I think mental health, substance abuse needs to be right at the top of programs that are offered. Unfortunately, in the Department of Corrections, and it's not just Vermont, it's throughout all Department of Corrections, is, a person that has a violent crime, we're going to wait to the end of their sentence to get them better. I will use myself as an example. Okay, you waited 6 months before I got out. I'm such a heinously violent person, but you waited 6 months till I got out to give me help. Why not start in the beginning? All crimes, crimes against children or other domestic abuse or things like that. You need to start at the beginning, not wait till the very end, because there's not enough time. You don't just heal yourself, in a year or 6 months. It takes a long time to get there. And if you get somebody at the beginning of a 10-year sentence and you start a program, whether it's a sex offender program or a domestic assault program or it's a violent offender program, when you start then a person, that's part of the mental health, learning, because that's probably the only coping mechanism they had growing up, was to react that way. So those are the kind of programs I really feel like are needed. How to budget that? That's DOC. That's nothing to do with Kalanni. I want to be part of the solutions, and I will do anything I can to try to find these solutions. We all know the problems. Okay, let's move beyond that. What are the solutions? Because my grandpa always said, if you're not part of the solution, boy, you are part of the problem. And my grandfather called my sisters boy. That was my grandpa always said. Everybody was boy to him. It didn't matter if you're a woman or not. That was my grandpa. But that's what he said. Be part of the solution, not the problem. Yes.
In Johnson, they have a wonderful program, Janet's Promise, that people come from all over the country to see how it's functioning and to try to copy it elsewhere. But I have the feeling that in Burlington, they're trying to rebuild and find a solution to everything. They've never even gone to Johnson to see what's happening. And it's just sad that they have a functioning program and they don't go and try to recreate that where it could really help a lot of people in Burlington.
There's some of the women that I interviewed were in Jenna's Promise, and it is an amazing program. It really is, and it's successful at that. Very successful.
The history is that her parents watched and saw where all the failures were and decided that they had to do something to make a change. And they built this program knowing what was not available for their daughter when she needed them. So it seems to be working beautifully. Gives housing and on-the-job training, mental health care, community. Yeah. Really great.
Yes.
So one of the things that I'm really struck by is the idea of using a punishment model on people who have already been punished, as you've shown in many ways of their life. What if we let go of that punishment model called prison and really began working so that peer support happened when you were much younger and when people were much younger and it gets identified. We know how to do this professionally, and so what if we just backed it up?
Well, I think a lot of it is untreated mental health, untreated trauma. That is the core of where people commit crimes. You know, there is, I know, a program that they started at Chittenden Regional Correctional Center that is called Restorative Justice, and it's trying to use, like, everybody knows yin and yang. You know, you have to have one with the other. And when you have the restorative piece and the punitive piece working together, that's where it really begins to work. You know, because sometimes a lot of crimes are of opportunity. They're hungry, or they're feeding their drug addiction, or they need a place to sleep, so they just want to take something for a couple days to be able to go get that hotel room for a couple days. So yeah, that is really important place to start.
We're talking about educating people who are incarcerated, but I also feel like we need to educate law enforcement on mental illness and substance abuse, because I don't feel like they have the right knowledge when they approach people who have committed crimes and who are mentally ill. And who, people who are committed crimes and who have suicide attempts. You know, they don't know what to do, or they're not doing the right thing. I don't feel. They're not approaching them the right way.
I feel like some of the things that I've seen, you know, since I've been out, is that there is a change in the mentality and the thinking of law enforcement. They are slowly beginning to understand more of the makeup of the person that has committed the crime, and they're trying to do that. They're trying to find resources for some of these people, you know, and it is important, you know, and it's certainly not as archaic of a system as it used to be. You know, there's definitely a change there, and I do believe that finding the right people to make that change and being in that position to make the change and having more compassion and empathy and an understanding of people that do suffer from mental health issues. You know, a lot of people have mental health issues, but then when they start getting help, they learn how to live with mental health, and that's a pivotal change in their life. Yes.
Did you learn anything unexpected over the course of doing this project?
Yeah, I found the common theme amongst incarcerated individuals. Unfortunate to know both sides of a coin. Having been housed in a male facility and then in a female facility. And what I realized is how much all of us were connected. Like how much childhood trauma and the mental abuse and for a lot of people, sexual abuse and all these things that happened to them and it going untreated, and why so many incarcerated individuals were incarcerated. And it was overwhelming for me to see, in my opinion, like 98% of the people that I met had severe childhood trauma, you know, that had these things that went untreated and there was nobody there to help them. And I guess the thing I learned is not realizing just how deep it went and just how common it really was.
Can I just say, and this is just offering to, like, you know, somebody that's been through what you've been through, a suggestion would be like maybe to find a bunch of friends just for peer support. Because my older two grandkids, their father went through a lot of addiction, you know, when he was younger and everything, and he grew up around it. But once he got together with his girlfriend, they both decided to get clean on their own.
And they've both been clean for like almost 16, 17 years now. And just having that one person, if it's just one friend, it doesn't matter. It's just knowing that somebody is there for you to help you through what you really need to go through.
Exactly. That's what I meant about community. Like, I needed community. I knew that. Like, that was paramount in my life to have. And that was the number one thing that I sought out. You know, and my mentor through Mercy Connection found me places that I could go to, and I found one that I connected really deeply with. And the people that are there are some of the most salt of the earth people I've ever met. And some of them, you know, it's amazing. And that is what we do need. We really do need more of that community for people to be successful.
What's next for you, Kalanni? This is an incredible project. You've done an amazing job, and I wonder if you have another spark, another idea, something you want to do next, or is it too soon?
No, my passion is, like I brought up for testimony in the House Committee on Corrections and Institutions, I really want to go back into the prisons. I really want to be that peer support. I'm going to be taking intentional peer support course for 40 hours, and then I can be certified as a peer support specialist. And then I want to take the advanced. You know, I want to be in some form of social work, you know, because I never had that growing up, you know, and a lot of people never had that growing up. And I want to use all my life experiences, pain, suffering, everything, to be able to help another person, to let them know that I'm there for them, that I will support you in any way that I can. You know, if you don't have family, I will try to find you an apartment. I will try to figure something out, or I'll find the resources that I can to find for you. You know, that is really the biggest thing on my plate now to achieve, you know, because it's important. You know, for the first time, I'm just turned 60 yesterday, and for the first time, for the first time in my life, to have a sense of belongingness, you know, and I've been blessed through that to get my family back, to have siblings that I never thought would ever give me that chance. You know, to have them see the change within me, that I had to show not just my family, but everybody, that I made a change in my life. I am a different person. These are the things that I want to do, you know, and to have that, you know, yeah, that's important. It's important to me. So that's really my next goal in life, and just to keep going.
I have a question for you. I was thinking the time I'm you, and I'm curious, like, how was your first days out of the jail, and when you get out, do you think you start a new life, and how this impact your life?
Well, my journey was different. You know, halfway through my incarceration, I transitioned. I finally had the strength within myself through a story I shared with the Department of Corrections at the House Committee in regards to my daughter that helped me to finally be able to be Kalanni. And the first thing I did, you know, after 16 years of incarceration, I came out and I collapsed because I couldn't believe I wasn't in handcuffs. I wasn't in shackles. You know, I was picked up in an electric car with no key, a push thing, and given this phone that really might as well have been the communicator on Star Trek, because they didn't have that when I was incarcerated. They didn't have that, you know, to the technology. And I remember with Janelle and my mentor, I had no place to live. I was homeless, and I'm one of the people that had a split to serve. So for the first time in my life, being sober in society after 46 years of slowly, you know, coming out, there was no buffer for me. I transitioned, and now I'm gonna be homeless. What do I do? You know, and it's these resources that, and we went to this restaurant, I can't think of the name, it's up on the hill in Colchester. And I just remember getting out of the car and just hugging a tree Like, I wanted to hug a tree. I hadn't touched a tree in 16 years. I wanted to feel the bark. I wanted to feel the roughness. I touched the moss. I smelled it, the earth. You know, that was what I wanted. And I try every day. I tell people, if you ever see me walking down the street, yes, I could probably look like I'm ready for the funny farm, because I don't care. I'm high on life. For the first time in my life, I'm high on life, as the song says. So thank you all. You're all very amazing. And thank you for your questions and your insight and your inputs. And thank you for coming. Thank you. For me, what is important is, you can't see her, she's off camera. What really started my journey to wanting to really help myself was a person said 7 simple words. Kalanni, helping yourself is helping. Asking for help is helping yourself. Sorry about that. Kind of nervous. But yeah, and that was the most profound thing that I'd heard in my life, that it's okay to ask for help, because that is helping me, you know. And the way I was raised, did not ask for help. You did everything on your own. And if I reached out, there were so many people that were willing to lift me up and to help me achieve the things that I achieved. And again, without community and without these programs, it never would have been possible. And we need this. Everybody deserves a successful reintegration. I shouldn't be considered, you know, an anomaly, or, you know, not normal. I want to just be part of the crowd. I want this to be a normal thing when people come out of jail to have. And I think they all deserve that. Thank you.